Hey, it's Heather here. I just want to let you know that there are two sections in this episode that thoughts of suicide are discussed. So this is just a reminder that this episode comes with a content warning. This is simply to empower you, our audience, with the knowledge you need to make a healthy decision about how and if you should consume this podcast content. There are two sections. Prior to each of those areas, there will be a clip that has a warning. So you can listen to the episode up to that point and then fast forward it to the next point if you'd like. Thank you. What would you think if you were told you already have the tools to begin your healing right now with you? Would you want to know more? I would. I have another question. Do you believe that your healing begins with your mindset? It's understandable if you're at the beginning of your journey and are simply not recognizing your body anymore. But honestly, of the nearly 4 dozen interviews I've had the pleasure of doing, the most common catalyst toward their healing was a huge mindset change. I know for me, it was as if a switch went off in my head and things became clearer. In this episode of the Meniere's Muse podcast, VeDA Ambassador Etta opens up about how her journey began with a full meltdown. A brave physician admittedly not knowing what to do for her. His advice will shock you. And her dedication to her own healing through a type of brain training called DNRS, Dynamic Neural Retraining System, where she was able to reclaim her life and look at the symptoms that once ran her life separate from who she is. Please welcome Etta. So I have so many questions for you because I just realized you were in Charleston and now you're out in Vegas.
So I used to, whenever this all started, I was living in Charleston, South Carolina. And then about a year and a half ago, I moved to Las Vegas. So that's where I live now.
And you're having all the alien fun.
There's a lot of, it's a lot of alien out here.
That's so crazy.
Alien is like, like they talk about like Bigfoot or like, other like folklore. So that alien is like our thing here.
That's so crazy. And I have been to that, the brothel. I took pictures of my
brothel. Well, it's a gas station with a brothel in the back.
Right. Off to the right.
Close,
yeah.
Yeah. It's close to the Nevada test site. So that's why but there's a lot of like gas station. There's just a lot of like random things out in the desert that are alien themed.
It's kind of interesting. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and I know a lot of people know your story, and I have heard it years ago. I heard it because we were running in pretty much the same circles, but I don't think we ever really connected except through DM. So sure. I would love it if you would take us back a little bit to the beginning of your story, and we'll get up to what you're doing today.
Sure. So, in the very end of 2019 was whenever I became dizzy. So this was like November of 2019. I woke up one day and I was dizzy, but it wasn't like a bad dizzy. There were no other symptoms. Like there was nothing that, like it wasn't debilitating to the point where I could go out or like do things. It was just this sort of like very vague feeling that I had. And when it didn't go away after a couple of weeks, I started to panic. Even though it was like this very vague feeling, I didn't know how to describe it. I didn't know how to articulate it. I didn't know how to like deal with it. I didn't know what to do. So I went to a couple of doctors and they just sort of dismissed it as whatever. Like they just diagnosed me with dizzy. Like there was no like looking further into it.
Right.
But like as time went on, like as we got closer and closer to December, so it was like about a month in, I really started to panic. I really started to freak out to the point where it was bad. Like there was like, I thought there was something very, very wrong with me. And I thought that it was like MS, or I thought that it was a brain tumor, or honestly, I didn't know what was wrong. So I, finally, like one day when I was in such a panic, like, I mean, beyond comprehension, of like full meltdown, I walked into my doctor's office in Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, I didn't have an appointment or anything. And I told her that I was dying. I was like, I fully wholeheartedly believe that I'm dying.
Right.
And I believe that it's a brain tumor. And I have every symptom that it, like, when you look at all the symptoms and you like look at all the documentation and you read all the studies, like, I was a person that was like that that it all matched up, that I would have had a brain tumor and that I was dying. And I had whenever I was 16, I had a tumor in my bone. So I had already had like some history with having a tumor. So I thought,
Right.
okay, well, this came back and it's like in my brain or like,
yeah,
whatever. So she ordered a emergency MRI that day. So like within 45 minutes, I was in like an MRI machine, because she was trying not to be like, this could be bad, but she was just like, let's just check and see.
Okay.
I got my results back within like 2 hours, and she's like, you're totally fine. You're totally clear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not possible. Like, that's impossible. Like, what, like, do we need to do more contrast? Like, what do we need to do here? Like,
Right.
to get to the bottom of it. And she's like, well, she said, I believe that you have an inner ear infection. And she said to take meclizine. And so she was like, take like 4 or 5 a day, which is,
oh my goodness.
4 or 5 a day.
No functioning.
Well, yeah. So whatever. I was like, all right, fine. So I took like 4 or 5 of these things a day. And then I did start to feel better. Like so this was like around Thanksgiving. So by Christmas, I was fine. Like, everything was sort of okay. Like, I wasn't having any dizziness. Like, everything was fine. And then on January 5th was whenever my whole world completely collapsed, like my entire world. I woke up in the morning and I was totally fine. I didn't have any dizziness. I had no symptoms at all. And then I was in my house doing laundry and I collapsed in the middle of it. Like, full on collapse. Didn't lose consciousness or anything, but there was almost like a sensation that I was being pulled to the ground. And I started vomiting immediately. I had no, like, I thought I was having a stroke because the pressure, like, there was like an actual feeling to it. And my husband had just left the house, so I was able to like crawl over to get my phone, and I called him and I said, you need to come back. And he came back, and I could not stop vomiting. I could not get off the floor. I mean, I was literally floored. Like, there's no other word to describe it. Like, it's kind of like they talk about like God striking you down. That's exactly what it felt like to me. Like, something struck me down. So there was no way he could get me to the hospital without like vomiting all over the car. And there was no way for him to like get me in to the car. Like, it was impossible to move me, even though I'm not a very big person. But it was like every movement, every position, everything was uncomfortable. So we begrudgingly called the ambulance. And I thought, well, if this is me for the rest of my life, like, so be it, like, whatever. And they came, and I said, am I having a heart attack? Am I having a stroke? And they're like, it doesn't seem to be. Like, you seem okay. And they said, well, we're going to take you anyways. And then once I started leaving my house, I completely lost my memory. Like, I think I froze. I think I went into shock.
Yeah.
And they they could have taken me halfway around the world. I had no idea where I was going at that point. I got to the hospital. They did all these tests. They hooked me up to everything. My husband was smart enough to know that he brought the video image of my MRI to the hospital with me, so they wouldn't have to go through that whole song and dance. So
Right.
at least I had like a clear, like I had that to show for something. I did all these tests, and then maybe like an hour later, they told me I could go home. And I said, well, what do you expect me to do? Like, I don't even know where I am right now. You know, I
Yeah.
had to ask the doctor. I said, where am I? They said, you're in Charleston, South Carolina. You're at this hospital. And I said, well, I'm just up the street from my house. And they said, well, you can go home. And I was so confused. I thought, how can you like send a person home who can't even walk right now? Like, I could not walk. They had asked me to stand up and walk to the bathroom, and there was no way. I said, I can't. I don't know what to tell you, but I can't. I went home, and I didn't, what do you do? Like, I didn't know what to do.
Right.
Who do you call? Like, at that point, who do you call? Where do you go? Who do you talk to? Like, what do you do? So I had said to somebody, I said, I need an ENT. I think that's where I need to start. I needed ENT. And I had called, my father, whenever I was growing up, had Alzheimer's disease. So I had a pre-existing relationship with Johns Hopkins Hospital because we're from Washington, D.C. And my dad was treated at Johns Hopkins. And I was like, let me call Johns Hopkins and beg them to take me. So I called Johns Hopkins and I was like, please, like, I don't know what to do. Somebody has to see me. Like, I don't know who, but somebody needs to see me. And like, they were like, you can come for neurology. Like, if you can get there, like, I thought, well, I'm going to have to figure out how to get there because I don't know what else to do with myself right now. But then I got like the appointments for Johns Hopkins were months. I mean, we're talking months out. And they were like, it's not like there's nothing like fundamentally wrong with you enough for us to give you an emergency appointment unless you make your way to Baltimore and you go to the emergency room, which we highly recommend you do not do. So I was like, oh, whatever. So I found an ENT where I lived. And he did all these tests on me. He did he did hearing tests. He did a little bit of like the neurology testing where they like test your reflexes and stuff. And he looked me over real well. And then finally he was like, I know what's wrong with you, but the bad news is I don't know what to do about it. So I said, would you mind sharing? Would you tell me what's wrong? And he's like, well, he's like, I believe that you truly have something called vestibular migraine. And I looked at him and I said, I don't know. I don't know what that is. Like, what are you talking about? You know, I don't have a headache. It doesn't, none of this is adding up. And I sat there like talking to him, like trying to rationalize this for a good 10 minutes. So a doctor just 10 minutes with you, like, these days is kind of a big deal. So he was really trying to like rationalize this with me and tell me like what this was and like break this down and explain this to me to like a way I could understand it, but I still didn't understand it. And I was like, but why am I like this all the time? Like, why is this not going away? Like, there's no break. Like, it's at that point, it had been 13 days from hospitalization to that. And I couldn't understand. I was like, but there's no headache. There's no vomit. Like, there's no other symptoms. Like, I didn't get it.
Had you had a history of migraines?
No, not at all. And at that point, I didn't know anybody in my family who had either. Like, my parents seemed normal. Well, normal, like health-wise. But so he gave me some medication to take, like he gave me nortriptyline, like an antidepressant. And he's like, well, you can just try this and see what it does. But I don't know what else to do. And he's like, there's specialists in Charleston that you can go see, but it's going to take you some months to get in, And, so I went home and I took and he did also say to me, he was like, look, you're going to need to find other people who have gone through this. So you need to go like on Facebook, or you need to go on YouTube. Like, you need to start really like looking at this yourself, because I don't know. And I thought, this is where the world has turned upside down, because the doctor is actually telling me to go online.
Right.
Normally, don't do that. Like, you're going to scare yourself, whatever. But he was actually like, no, you're going to have to put one foot in front of the other and like try to figure this out. And the only way to be able to do that is if you find other people. So I was like, all right, okay. And I thought, are there even other people? Is there anybody else? Because this is crazy. And I went home, and that's whenever I made an Instagram account right away. And then I went on YouTube, and I found all these people on YouTube that had made videos. And then I found them on Instagram, and I was like, okay, if I can just get like a couple of these people to like message me and tell me what's going on,
right,
then I can start to try to figure this out. And that's how I ended up where I am now. And I eventually did get into the specialist in Charleston. It took me 7 months.
Oh my goodness.
Well, it was right in the middle of COVID. So so now it was January. So whenever I went to the emergency room, it was January 5th of 2022. And then by the time I was able to get an appointment, it was March. And then the appointments started getting canceled. So I had to wait 7 months to get into a specialist. So it was all a very long process. And I had called Johns Hopkins back, and I had said, do you have anybody? Like, is there anybody that can see me? Like, whatever. And they said, well, you actually have a specialist where you live. And I thought, in this town, like Charleston's not exactly a booming metropolis. Am I going to find somebody who really knows how to deal with this like very specialized situation? And they said, we promise you there is somebody there, highly recommended, get in with him. And I did get in with him, and he was able to recognize what was going on like within 5 minutes of meeting me.
Oh, gosh, that's fantastic, but it sucks that you had to wait that long time.
I mean, it is what it is. By that time, between seeing the ENT who had diagnosed me, who didn't know what to do, and, reading about all of this online and connecting with people, by the time that I got to the specialist, I already knew what to do. Like, I knew what to ask for. I knew the questions to ask, and I knew I knew what to do. So, even though it's very discouraging when you go online and you see people who are like sick 10 years later or whatever, had some kind of roadmap, I knew what I was looking for whenever I got there. And
I'm so glad you said that, Etta, because I know that at the beginning, because I didn't know how to describe my dizziness, because I kept using the word dizzy, and it was actually vertigo. I think my diagnosis was prolonged because I didn't know how to describe it. I was so confused and so anxiety ridden that you just don't know, when you've not experienced anything like that. Let me ask you, can we go all the way back to the beginning? And you're describing this as dizziness. Were you, looking back, was it a rotational vertigo, or was it it was dizziness? Okay. Just dizziness.
I have ever really had true vertigo once.
Okay.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I've had it multiple times, but I've only ever had debilitating vertigo to the point where I wasn't able to do anything once. But the rest of it has been like obviously it was debilitating
Sure.
to the where I wasn't able to like leave the house for a long time. And I did feel the spinning and I felt pulling and I felt all of these things. But besides
Hmm.
that, I always just had this sort of dizzy, vague feeling, you know?
Yeah.
And then,
Has that improved, or is that kind of your
yeah,
baseline that it has? Okay.
yes. So today, now I'm about a little over 3 years into this,
Hmm.
and I lead a mostly normal life. I still like, I don't know how to explain this, but I worked a lot on brain training, on like,
The
you know,
neuroplasticity and
yeah. And I did a lot of work on that because, you know, the wellness community is very convoluted, and the wellness community is a mixed bag, and you could spend a lifetime on all these different life-saving potions and these programs,
yes,
that, and I did all of them, and I spent a ton of money,
right.
and I mean, I literally did everything that was available out
Yeah.
there, but really found that brain training was what got me to where I am now. So now I lead a mostly normal life.
Hmm.
I, am I 100%? That doesn't matter to me.
Right.
Like
You're
if
functioning.
I'm functioning, my life is normal. I don't look at this as that this is me, like that
Hmm.
this isn't part of me. This is like separate from who I am.
Right.
I've had to, really address my life. For me, it had to be a complete lifestyle change. Like, I mean, we moved all the way to Las Vegas. You know, my husband and I have changed how we work. We have just done everything to manage this. And I can say that I've like successfully done that, you
Can I
know?
ask, you moved from South Carolina. I'm not familiar with the weather in South Carolina.
Yeah.
But were you one that had higher symptoms during barometric changes?
But
Um,
before brain training, yes, I
okay.
did. You get hurricanes.
Yeah.
So obviously that was a issue, a lot of thunderstorms, things like that. So
Right.
during that time, yes, I was
Okay.
extremely affected by all different types of weather.
Now, I know I'm going to have lots of questions about the brain
Sure.
training because ever since this, I mean, I've always, even before my symptoms, I'm always reading 3 or 4 books at a time. It's just me.
Sure.
I dove into so many books and a lot on neuroplasticity. I'm curious on what avenue you went and what was your most beneficial book or masterclass or whatever module you did to help that springboarded you to your healing as
So
far as that.
I did the DNRS program, dynamic
D
neural,
and
yeah.
okay.
And that it's a program, and you go through rounds of, it's basically like talking to yourself and redirecting your thoughts and
Hmm.
redirecting the way that you approach everything, and redirecting the way you think about this and the way you approach this. And we don't use our diagnosis. We don't talk about like, because you're labeling, you
Right.
don't label what it is. It is, it's not part of you. You teach your body to, you're teaching your brain to let go and let you take over,
Mm.
like you
Right.
being in control of what's happening. And I'm not, I the thing is like, I think in brain training, there's a lot of, you have to be this chill, sort of like namaste, like very like even tempered person. And that is not who I am. And that's never who I will be. I am
Hmm.
like a chill person. I mean, I wouldn't say that, but I am not like, I'm pretty high strung. And I'm a person that likes to, I'm very opinionated. Like, and I think that I had to really hold on to my personality and not
Sure.
let go of that. And so I think in like the brain training space, like everybody's just so calm and so chill and like, you know, they're not showing that they have these major ups and downs, but that's just who, you know, that's just who I am. So
Right.
I adapted a lot of it to fit who I am.
Can I ask you, since you said that other people in there, so are you taking this online and are other people in that class with you?
No,
No.
no. You do well, there is coaching and then there is like, you know, forums that you can be a part of that, you
Okay.
know, have other people. And I didn't really do that much. I just really like did it on my own.
Right.
But I also am a person that gave myself no choice to get better because I
Yeah.
said, you know, like being online is great for support and it's great for, you know, learning about your illness and learning about what other people have done, you know, learning how to manage it. But there's a huge downside to it where there is just, I mean, we just got to have that daily reminder that we have a incurable chronic illness and that
Yeah.
this is just our life and everybody around us needs to validate it. No, absolutely
Right.
not. I had to drop that and I had to say, I'm not going to be this person who's going to be sitting online showing every single attack that I have for the rest of time because I will
Yeah.
never do better. And I don't need other people around me to validate this. I
Right.
can validate this for myself. I know what's going on. People are never going to understand. I'm not expecting them to understand and I have to move on with it. Are doctors going to get it? No, they're not going to get it. Are they going to
Right.
gaslight? Sure. But I know within me what's going on and I know how to handle this like for myself, you
Right.
know. That I think what is one of the things that really that was really discouraging in the beginning because I just saw these people and it was just like, oh my gosh, I've been this way for 10 years and it's never gotten better. And I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, is this what my life is going to be?
Hmm.
And they're
Right.
like, you need to have validation that this is real. I'm like, well, yeah, it's real. And if somebody thinks it's fake, whatever. I don't like this. It is what it is. Like, I don't need this constant reminder, you know, that
Right.
this is what my life is. And I think online there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
I was like, I have to move on with my life because
Hmm.
not, this isn't going to this isn't going to work for me.
Whenever I got sick, I was really in the groups a lot, a lot of the Facebook
Yeah.
groups and such. And until I started my healing process. And when I started feeling better, I wanted to go back in the groups to give hope, to put
Mhm,
messages out there, but then I would get stuck in the scroll and all the
mhm.
darkness in there. And I'm like, I started feeling guilty for healing for myself, all that stuff so I had to limit myself once in a while, maybe twice a month. I might go on and do a quick scroll through and see if I can give a little bit of positivity, but I don't go to the groups because it's heavy.
Hard. It's
Yeah.
hard. You know, and like I went through a really dark period and there was a period of time where my symptoms were so bad and they were so unrelenting and there was no break for a long period of time and I thought this is not it.
This is part 1 of the content warning from the beginning of the episode. If you would like to forward past this content, please forward to minute 33 and 30 seconds.
I can't do this. I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
And I said to my husband, I said, I want to die with dignity. So I want you to take me to one of those like pods or like, you know, they have these things in Europe you can go to or these places. And I had researched them and I was like, this is what I want to do. Cause I don't like, this isn't going to work for me. I was
Um,
ready to give up. you know, and it was very
I do
ready
know.
to do very quietly. And like, I wanted to, you know, I wanted to go someplace and just do this. And well, we're not going to do that, you know.
Right.
We're not going to do that. Like there's going to be another way. And I do talk about this a little bit, but he had called a priest to come to the house, and I didn't even know you could get a priest to come to the house. And I thought, I am not going to be one of those people who finds Jesus like in the middle of this whole thing, because, you know, like you hear people who like go through drug addiction or go to prison and they found Jesus and their life was saved and all this. And I thought, okay, this seems so hokey to me. Like, I'm not going to be that.
Right.
I'm not like, that's not going to be me. Talk about, you know, talk to you. So we don't, you know, have to like end up going to Switzerland for you to die. And so this priest comes to our house, like full black, like with the cross and a Bible. And
Oh my goodness.
I know, and he had oil from a weeping icon. What is even that? I was like, I don't even know what that is, but okay.
I don't
like,
either.
Well, there's this icon. There's an icon in Pennsylvania that is weeping oil from the
like Mary or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And it's been doing this for like a long time. And so these priests, these Orthodox priests, will make a pilgrimage to this place, and they will take the oil and they will use that oil to anoint people to heal them. So, but okay, this is crazy time. This is where crazy time starts now. Like, we have fully lost it. I don't know. I don't think, whatever. So he comes in and he talks to us for like an hour, and he does pray over us, and he prays over me, and he recites some stuff from the Bible, from an Orthodox Bible. And then he does anoint me with the oil from the weeping icon.
Right.
And like maybe like a week later, I started getting better. It was almost like a miracle happened.
Wow.
And I was the person that was so not okay with that. I wasn't, you know, like I thought, I'm not doing this, you know,
Right.
but I believe there was some sort of intervention that happened. I don't know, like, I don't know how to explain it. Later I went back to the priest and I was like, you know, I truly believe that you did save my life, because I was there with him. You know, I was with this priest and I was telling him that I wanted to kill myself, like that I wanted to die. I was like searching for ways to die. There was something that happened there.
Sure.
I believe. And then that's whenever I did start to get better. And that's whenever I learned about like brain training, and I learned about, you know, I started learning about these, you know, alternative things that I could do. And, so yeah, there was something
Some
there, even though I was like super, super not into it at first.
It's crazy how resistant we can be. I know the mental game is huge. And if you could go back and tell yourself at the beginning of your symptoms, or some newbie vestibular patient that's experiencing symptoms, anything, what would you want to know back then at the beginning?
That the way that I feel now is not how I'm going to feel forever. Because I really thought that was how I was going to feel forever. And, you know, the sheer panic that I see in people that are going through this in the very beginning, that they think that this is it and this is how they're going to feel forever.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that I always say to people is, the way you feel today is not how you're going to feel forever.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Right. The beginning, were you working when all this happened?
I was working from home, but now I had to stop, and it was awful. I had
Mhm.
like no purpose in my life. I had nothing to do.
Right.
And then when we moved to Las Vegas, what happened was my husband, he's in the entertainment business. He works he works here in Las Vegas as a sound engineer, and he's always done sound, and he's always been an entrepreneur, and he's always done a lot of different things. When we first moved out here, he was only doing sound, and he was only working, at night. And he was like, I want something that's a more active investment that I can do during the day instead of just like, he has passive investments, but you don't have to do anything. So he's like, I want something additional that I can do during the day. And he bought a pool cleaning company, and he learned all about swimming pools and learned all about everything. And I started asking him if I could go to work with him, and he thought I was crazy. He was like, why would you even like want to do this? And I was like, because I want to show myself that I can do something again, that I want to show myself that I can like be out there again. And this was like part of like my brain training, was to get back out there and start doing the things that I like. And so he was like, okay, fine, you can come and do this. And I did it. And he he taught me things. I still don't really know what I'm doing, but I thought, if I can stand on the edge of a pool and look into the water, and I can like vacuum the inside of a swimming pool, like I can do anything. I started doing that. I started going to work with him and doing that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, which then now I do all of the administration stuff like at home, and like, so I am working again. It's a lot because he actually has like, he has like 3 companies that he manages and operates and everything. So there's a lot to do. So, but it feels good, I thought the pool company really saved me. I'm not like a labor kind of person, whatever, but I thought, if I do this, because I knew like what it was, like, what the work was. And I was like, if I can do this, then this might actually be really good for me. Even if I go with him and I just sit in the car sometimes and just have like, that is like something that I'm doing, then I could do anything. So, and I did that. Now, I don't do it as much right now because it's, it's like 120 degrees out here.
I was wondering about that.
So I'm not going as much, but I was like, and then when it becomes fall again, I'll go again. But like, but I'm still here at home every day working, and I love it. It makes me really happy. So, a big part, and I know this isn't like realistic for everybody in any way, but a big part of healing for me was being able to come out here to Las Vegas, was to move from Charleston to Las Vegas. I did not like Charleston as a place. I never really got it. I don't know. I didn't like it, period.
Okay. Had nothing to do with your symptoms or anything. It was just, you just didn't like being there.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't like being there. I didn't like the community. There was nothing really great in Charleston, except priest was there and my doctor was there. But all of those things can be, can translate online. Totally fine. And that was a big catalyst to moving to Las Vegas, was so we had, a better, like a different life, totally different for both of us. And we love it, and I think it really has helped me. It's helped me a lot being in a place that I enjoy, and being around people that I like. And
oh my gosh. And I saw that being there, you connected with Johan and his wife.
Yeah. So everybody
so
comes
cool.
to Las Vegas. I know, it's crazy. So everybody comes to Las Vegas.
Right.
Everybody Las Vegas at some point. So all these people that I've met online through vestibular like communities and stuff, I have like I've met, they've been able to come here because everybody comes to Las Vegas. Everybody comes to Las Vegas at least once for whatever. So, and then there'll be more like coming next month. And so I get to meet all of these people because of where I live now. Cool. Nobody's coming ever, you know, but out here people will come to visit, you know.
That's
and then there's a lot of people in LA that'll come out here. So it's been nice, you know.
That's great. I know that I remember you've been with 3 other vestibular warriors and doing YouTube events and some other videos and stuff like that. Do you still speak with them or do anything like that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's awesome. Is there any way that we can support you in that? Because tell us it all.
Oh, so we're not doing videos. One of the girls, she ended up moving and she lives in Hawaii now.
Oh wow.
Her husband's military and she had a baby. And then Em and I are very much in contact, but she is extremely busy because she works and she's doing a lot of holistic, you know, she's really, really developed this business for herself.
I know.
And very time consuming. And then Laura is in, she is in Australia. So, you know, we have
that's right.
connected as much. It was during COVID, so none of us really had anything to do because we weren't leaving our house. But
I loved listening to your conversations though. Where can we find those today?
They are all online.
They're all online?
If you go to the Vestibular Warrior, she has them all up there.
Oh, okay. They're on M's account. Okay. I'm having her on next week, by the way.
Oh, good.
Yeah, for the second time.
You'll love talking. Yeah, she's wonderful. You'll love talking.
Yeah, I really want to know more about, you know, what she's doing because I don't really understand it. So I really want to, I want her to explain on a deeper level about all of that because she's come such a long way. So intrigued by it. Sweet. All right. Well, is there anything else you would like to share, Etta, before we hit whirlwind questions?
I mean, that's basically the long and the short of it, you know, of everything that I went through and you know, where I'm at today. You know, my big goal is to just constantly be working on myself because this does take management, even though I'm not identifying anymore with my diagnosis and I'm not labeling things and I have worked really hard. I think, you know, there are still hard moments and there are still things that are difficult. And I want to continue working on myself. And I think it's so important to constantly be doing that because you don't want to fall, like you don't want to revert or fall back. And, you know, relapsing is normal. That happens. It still happens to me like from time to time, but I know how to deal with it better. I know how to like approach this and I know how to handle all of this so much better now. You know, I just want people to understand that all this noise online, like you don't need that. Like you don't need the validation. Like you need to work on yourself and you, instead of worrying about how the world is viewing you, you know, work on you, work on all of that. Are doctors going to gaslight you? Yeah, probably they are. It's going to suck and it's going to be hard and you're going to have to advocate for yourself, but you don't need all of this validation. You need to work on yourself. And the way that you feel today is not how you're going to feel forever. And it's going to take, I mean, it took an Olympic amount of hard work. It was like training for the Olympics, you know, to get to where I am now. And there's no magic pill. Nobody's coming to save you. I don't care if you're married or you're living with your parents or whatever. Nobody's saving you. You're saving yourself, you know? And that was the big thing that I had to get over that this is on me now. My husband can't do this nobody can do this. I have to put in this tremendous amount of work, and it's hard, and it's not a linear thing. You have ups and downs. You just have to roll with it, and I truly believe that mindset is everything, and people get mad at me for saying that, but
No.
it really, like, if you want to be down in the dumps for the rest of your life and play the victim, then that's what you're going to have. But if you're going to uplift yourself and work on this, then there's a great reward at it. There's great reward to come out of it. And to be honest with you, I like myself better who I am now than before I got sick. And I want people to understand that, like, you can have a better life than before you got sick. You can. Like,
I'm so happy you said that, Etta. It's so crazy how these symptoms, the symptoms and these disorders empower you in such a way that you step into your true self, and that you have more regard for who you are and what you want out of life. And you have that you do have the control. And so much before, in my previous life, before I purchased anything, I had to get validation from my friends. Oh, would this go? Instead of thinking, do I like it? Little things like that.
Of course.
And, or anything that I would do in life, I'm like, well, how am I going to be viewed? I mean, this is my life. And like, I'm looking for work right now. And yes, there's so much out there, but it's not all going to fit for me in this chapter of my life. So you call the shots, and it is a lot of work, and it's a continuous thing. It doesn't happen overnight. Even if you grab a book and read it all through in one day, it's not going to happen. It's those little bitty things that we change in our lives that keep us moving forward. And
of course,
the people you surround yourself with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all so important. And, my husband and I have made such amazing strides in business, and me being able to do all of this, besides like the little stuff, like, cleaning a pool or whatever, like we're like the larger business aspect, we have 2 businesses right now that are growing and that are huge strides. And that is a massive accomplishment. And I wouldn't be able to fathom this or even like do any of this if I was who I was 3 years ago. And that's why I say it has to be a complete lifestyle change. You are not the same person that you were before, and you need to stop trying to get back that person you were before. You have to accept that you're, accept that you're a new person and treat yourself as a new person. This is almost an incredible opportunity to recreate your life. You have to go through horrific situation and to be able to come out of the other end of it whenever you are.
This is part 2 of the content warning from the beginning of the podcast. If you would like to fast forward through this part, please forward to minute 49 and 30 seconds.
Not terminal, but you literally are inches away from death, because you could at any time take the entire bottle of medication. You could at any time drive off into nothing. Like, you could end it at any point. And that's not a hard thing to think about when you're in the real thick of it. That's a reality.
Yeah.
So
many of us do.
You are inches away from death, and to come out of that, it's incredible, and it makes you so much of a stronger person, and you don't care what other people think, and your life just has so much more meaning. Because before this, I feel like my life didn't have a lot of meaning. Like I didn't feel like, I felt like the things that were important to me were, you had to be rich, and you had to be skinny, and you had to like go to, you had to be part of that, you had to be part of that, like, sort of like socialite scene. And now want anything to do with that, because
Yeah, I
if
don't
those
either.
people saw me cleaning a
And
pool, they would die.
no, and do you find that your relationships that you have are deeper? I
Yeah,
cannot tolerate the superficial anymore. I
no,
have to
no.
be able to have that.
Yes. Well, all of my relationships, like most of my relationships changed tremendously
Hmm.
got whenever I got sick.
Right,
So, there were family members that I won't even have a relationship with right now, because
right.
I cannot, mm, there's a lot of chaos in my family, and there's a lot of like addiction, and there's a lot of woe is me and I'm the victim,
Yeah,
and like there's just so much of that, and then people who have absolutely zero desire to make anything better for themselves, you
right.
know
Oh my goodness,
have
yes.
tons you have tons of money, like whatever, but you don't actually want to be a good person. You don't
I
actually want
do.
to like better yourself.
Yeah,
And that's where I can't engage. Like
right.
that's where I stop.
Yeah. The chaos
So
and the toxic behaviors, no more.
th-
Yeah.
no more. And like even with friends, and that has been like the biggest thing of coming to Las Vegas, is that we got rid of a lot of that. you
Yeah.
know
I'm starting fresh.
Everybody in Las Vegas is so nice.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, everybody's really nice. Everybody's really normal also. I know.
Yeah. Whatever that
So,
means.
well, I mean, I think people have this idea that, living in Las Vegas, especially as a sick person, it's going to be really difficult because
Yeah.
this is such a wild place, and like
Yeah.
there's just so much going on all the time. But it's such a normal community of people.
Hmm.
I'm The only thing that's a little bit different is that everybody works like on a different working schedule. Like there's no rush hour here. Like at 5 o'clock there's
Oh,
rush hour. There's no like any of that. Everybody's working on a different schedule. But everybody's just like normal people. Like they're not like they're not like gambling addicts or like drug
yeah.
addicts. I do know one guy who plays. Well, I know two. I know one guy who plays blackjack professionally. He lives in a $2.5 million home, and I know a guy that plays poker professionally, and he lives in a studio apartment. So
Yeah.
whatever. You have the ups and downs, but like,
Right.
it's very nice.
That's cool. Oh my goodness. I think we could talk forever, but I
Sure.
know maybe we'll come on another
Yeah.
time. Well, are you ready for whirlwind questions?
Sure.
All right. And there's no wrong answer. All right.
Okay.
Fill in the blank. Vestibular disorders are.
Difficult.
Absolutely. You feel your symptoms coming on, Etta. What is the first thing that you do?
Ignore them
Mm,
completely. They
yeah.
don't exist.
And you just keep moving forward?
I address it if I feel like I have to. So if it's something like that, so if I have to go someplace and I need to address this right now, I will address it,
Hmm.
but I won't label it, and I
Right.
will give emotion to it, if that makes any sense.
It does.
Ignore it as much as I can.
Yeah, I know that I had to get away from verbalizing it out loud when I started to feel symptoms because it just gave more power to it, or even just
Here.
telling my husband. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we don't. I tell my husband that that's not something that I can do right now. Like
Yeah.
if I do something like this isn't something that I can do right now, we'll check back later. I'll address it. Well,
Yeah.
see, that's part of brain training. They teach you how to verbalize these things,
Probably in a different way.
in a
Yeah.
very different way, and how to, so you're talking to yourself.
Hmm.
So this isn't something that I can do right now,
Okay.
but
Right.
we're going to try again, and we're going to try again soon.
It kind of reminds me with children, like when they are misbehaving and what I call junk behavior, that we don't give
Yeah,
any attention to that.
sure.
So
It's the
I've
same
never thought of it
thing.
like that.
because with your symptoms and with things getting like building up and getting worse, you're giving it a lot of attention and you're giving it a lot of emotion. And I have worked so hard to take that away. And do I still have my bad moments? Yes. And I do have to take my rescue medication, but I'm not giving it emotion and I'm not giving it a name. There's no, like, you know, there isn't a lot of thought process around it. I just do, you know?
Yeah. You have to try that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to have to look at DNRS. Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, there's a couple different ones. There's one called GUPTA, which is a little more new agey. And then DNRS, there's a lot of faith-based people that do that. And it's a little old fashioned. Actually, they have a different program now, which is a little more new school. But there, you know, there's a lot of different, you know, brain retraining programs for people. And they've actually become super popular because since COVID has happened, a lot of people have had long COVID symptoms, which are similar to vestibular disorders, or they are vestibular disorders that are going undiagnosed. So that's where this, like, these brain training programs are becoming very popular because it's helping people get their life back on track whenever doctors are like, well, it's too bad. It's not from COVID and it's not from the vaccine, but it is from both of those things. So that's
crazy. What is one thing that people usually get wrong about you?
That I'm super zen. People have this idea that I'm a super zen, like namaste, that I'm like doing yoga and I'm eating like all these whole foods. And they have this, I don't know where this came from.
Was it from the Dizzy Guru or the Vestibular Guru? Your first tag?
that I actually did it to make, I was actually like trying to make fun of myself, but it like came off that super zen. And I'm super into like yoga and wellness and herbs. And that is so far from who I am. I am a Diet Coke and Xanax kind of girl, you know, if that, you know, and I'm not like, I'm just not, I don't know. I don't like yoga. I don't like that. Like, that doesn't interest me. I don't like going to the beach. Like, everybody, like, I lived in Charleston. They're like, go to the beach. It's so healing or whatever. What am I supposed to do at the beach? I don't like the beach. I hate the beach. I can't stand
the sand.
Just happen. The sand. What am I supposed to do there? I'm not getting in. I'm not getting in.
Well, that's just not your thing, right?
It just happens that I meet men that whenever I live at the beach, so they always want to go to the beach. So sometimes I have to go. That's just that's what it is. Sometimes I'm going to have to go, and I don't particularly, but I have to do that. And so people have the idea that I'm super calm, like, and I'm not a high strung, like, I'm just this Zen person. And that is not it at all. I'm pretty high strung. You know, I've worked really hard to get my nervous system like regulated and all that, but this is just, I have a big personality and I'm not very quiet.
That's okay. I love that. I love that. What is your favorite vestibular friendly meal?
I mean, I don't really do vestibular friendly meals.
Do you not have nutritional triggers?
So in brain training, we don't,
no. Okay.
We get rid of all that stuff through, you know, through working through it. So, the only thing that I don't do is I don't drink alcohol. That it's partly because I'm scared to drink alcohol. Like, I don't know what it's going to do to me. Right. And then another part of me is I really shouldn't be drinking alcohol because everybody in my family is a raging alcoholic. Not everybody, but a good percentage of them are raging alcoholics. Whenever this happened to me, I said, I'm not going to drink anymore ever again. And it's been like 3 years. And then I don't drink coffee. And I tried to for a long time, and that is the only thing that with the brain training I haven't been able to work out is coffee. So in brain training, you teach your body how to accept all things again.
Mm.
Alcohol and coffee are my things that I cannot, I can't do it.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is your favorite book?
My favorite book is You Are the Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
I love him.
I do too. But I am deep right now into some Neville Goddard. Do you know who that is?
Mm-mm. No, who is that?
So he's like a law of attraction pioneer, but it's not really the law of attraction. He calls it the law of assumption, where everything is in the imagination. Everything that's in the 3D isn't real. Like it's very interesting. So I'm really into him right now. And, and I like the first medical medium book that's called Just Medical Medium.
Yeah.
You've read that one.
I think I have that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
cool.
that.
Do you have a morning or bedtime routine of self-care?
It's so extensive.
Is it?
It's both. Yes. So in my bedroom, I turn the lights red because red is good for producing melatonin. On top of all of this, I've had many, many years worth of sleep problems, insomnia. And I think because I am so high strung, and I remember having insomnia as a very young child. So my bedtime routine is very extensive. I have the red lights in my bedroom, and I used to live in Finland. So I will watch television shows in Finnish just to keep the language going for me.
Sure.
I don't speak the language fluently, but I like to have the language. I like to be listening to that as I'm winding down for the night. And then I do the Cephaly, the migraine device. I'll do that for 40 minutes or 2 sessions, which is 40 minutes. And then I do a very extensive skincare routine. It's different. It's alternated every night between the things that I do, but it's very regimented. And then I tape my face. I do face taping with face tape because I don't do any Botox or fillers or anything like that. So, and
is that for aging and all this loveliness?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
I don't have and I'm 42 years old. So
oh my gosh,
they're not that bad yet. So I do face taping. I do all of that. And then, as I'm going to sleep, I am listening to airplane noise like you're on an airplane. And I feel that's very good for visualizing, things for the future, travel, moving, even though the noise of an airplane is very good for you. And I'm actually really scared of flying, but the noise, the sound of an airplane is
that's interesting.
Yeah. And so that's my bedtime routine. And then whenever I wake up, I will have some kind of tea with a milk replacement, either almond milk or oat milk. I try not to do almonds because there's when you live in the desert, you learn about how much water it takes to grow things.
Right.
So I try to do almonds, especially if they're from California. And then I cover my entire body in sunscreen every single day.
Yeah.
And I do vitamin C and sunscreen. And then I have my water that I drink with electrolyte drops. And that I have to have a little bit of caffeine in the morning with my milk replacement, and then my water with my electrolytes. That is what I have to do every morning.
Wow.
So everything is very, very regimented, but like I'll switch it up. And like some days I'm going out like with my husband to help him. And then some days like I'm in the house and I have to work from home.
You're right.
So, it's all, but I'm doing a lot. Like I do a lot of things to like self-care.
That's great.
And then I do work out. Like I have a bike that I use, like a recumbent bike. And then I'm going to start lifting weights soon because
awesome.
like,
have you lifted before?
No, I'm not really a weight lift kind of person.
Yeah.
I'm not. But I feel like it's time because like with all this vestibular stuff that happened over the years, I spent so much time in the house and so much time in bed, and I was unable to do anything. And I still have limitations, but like I need to really start like addressing that. And I feel like weights is a good place to start because I am not doing yoga. That is just not who I am. And
no yoga for Etta.
No, I mean, I maybe like a little bit, but like Pilates and going to the gym or whatever, but I prefer to just do something at home. Like I don't want to have to go, I don't know. I just don't want to have to place else. So
I get that. What's an activity that completely relaxes you?
Cooking completely relaxes me. I cook
nice.
almost every day. I love to cook. I love making meals. There's everything about it that I love. And I was unable to cook for such a long time that now I just savor every moment that I'm able to like cook in my kitchen.
That's so cool. What is one movie that you could watch over and over and never tire of?
Probably Casino.
Casino. I've seen that once a long time ago. Well, isn't that interesting?
Well, I truly feel like the character Ginger, like I feel like I'm a little bit of Ginger. She's insane. She is, she's nuts. But I feel like we're all a little bit of Ginger, and she is iconic. And I live in Las Vegas, and everything about the movie I love.
That's awesome. What's your most used tool out of your vestibular toolbox? And you really don't have one anymore, do you?
No, I don't. Yeah. But I would say my brain. I constantly have to use my brain to redirect these thoughts, to ignore these thoughts, to really assess what I'm doing and be intentional about it. And I feel like that is your strongest ally right there.
I love that.
Use it. But I also use a Cephally device every day.
Yeah.
I feel like that does like, so there's things that I still do, and I will do that every day.
Yep. And not necessarily because you're having symptoms, but just because it's part of your routine. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Part of my routine.
Yeah. And the last one is, what are you extremely grateful for today?
My health.
Yeah.
Because I think until you lose your health and you lose everything, you don't know what that's like. So I'm extremely, extremely grateful. I'm extremely grateful to be able to cook. I'm extremely grateful to be able to leave my house because these are things that I took for granted, and those things were taken away from me. It was taken away, and I had to work really hard to get those things back. So I'm super, super grateful just to have my health today and to be alive in here, because there was a period of time where I thought that I wasn't going to be here, Right.
Well, we're thankful for that too. I've learned so much today, and I have definitely got to speak to you about your skincare program, because you would just die if I told you mine.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Etta, for digging so deep into your life, and may you continue on your healing journey. Keep your eyes open, because Etta and her husband share more on an upcoming episode of VeDA's Life Rebalance Chronicle docuseries. produced by Kimberly Warner with Unfixed Media Productions. Look for ways to reach out to Etta in the show notes, and I look forward to watching and sharing that episode. Thank you for listening to the Meniere's Muse podcast. If you haven't left a review, please do so today. Also, like, subscribe, and share, or leave me a voice message. I love hearing what you love about the podcast and where you think improvement can be done. After all, I do this for you, so your opinion matters. Please see all the ways to reach me below. If you would like more information on vestibular disorders, please visit the VeDA website at www.vestibular.org. Now remember, love and be gentle with yourself. Lean on this beautiful community. And lastly, believe that healing is possible. I'll see you soon, warriors.